any chance. It was doing the ley lines and the geodesic energies, etc. I just wondered if you got a chance to do any of that. Listen to any.
Uh, Me? No, I haven't had a chance to listen to nothing. But
Uh, yeah.
did you message it to me directly, or was it in the group?
I put it in the group, and I've got a little reference on it. It's well worth a listen to
Yeah,
because it
message it to me directly so that I can put it on while I'm doing the work today. I ended up with so few patients. Like I say, I worked really hard on this map, and it's not easy. I was able to find a map of what 9 or so CIA black sites, but there's more. Um, I mean, AFRICOM itself is, you know, got some heavy noise.
Sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to get out of the room here. Okay. Sorry about that.
All right. So we have, AFRICOM is like 30 some, spots on the map. There's a list of DUMBs I took off the map only because I don't know if I trust the source on it. It's supposed to be a very comprehensive map on deep underground military bases. The problem is, how do I confirm? Because they're so clandestine. I mean, there's supposedly one in Antarctica, and there's one on some random island in the middle of the Atlantic. I never even knew that island was there. And I had to zoom way in. I was like, sure enough, there's a daggone island there. So, the question is, like, how realistic is the data of that map? So I took off that layer, but I've got all of NASA, all of the Space Force. I've got all of the nukes that were available. Again, there's going to be more. I just don't know where they will be. Obviously, the Iron Curtain is very visible in West Germany, but I've got to find a better database. The database of the U.S. embassies worldwide is missing, whereas the one of the embassies in the United States is present. So it's hard finding stuff. I was nailing Cluck all day because he claims I'm a conspiracy theorist. So I was posting all this stuff about the torture, CIA, all these things, and he didn't dare open his mouth that time. And I was like, oh, look, more conspiracies that don't exist. And they were literally UN reports, Amnesty International stuff. So, that my concern is it's an unsustainable empire. It's a massive map. This is, of course, leading up to that black pill product that I'm going to be making about the war economy versus the dual layer economics and covering the human flesh industry, which is going to be not fun at all to write. So, I think my plan for the day, other than, patience and crypto, is to write a little bit of my Batman story, and which has taken some interesting turns, to say the least. Speaking of human flesh industry, vampires are suddenly in the story. No idea why. I'm not a particularly huge vampire person, but suddenly both Blade and Morbius are in my story, and kind of a funny turn of events. But then I'll probably work on some of the other, like the PIMS 2 papers and such like that. I just put out the EPMC versus the other paradigm, and I'm quite adamant that I do not agree with Dr. Chahad. I like her videos, but I don't agree with her that Electric Universe is going to be the final solution, because I think that the name of it is polarizing, and I think that they have some missing holes. And so I cover that in the final table of that little document. It's a little 12-pager. I'll probably mail it to her or email it to her or whatever. I don't know if I'll go so far as put it on Walt Thornhill's LinkedIn page, but I'm sure he'll find it if he really wants to. He knows about me. I obviously give him great credit, but I don't pull too many punches. I mean, I'm honest about they leave out Uranus, Neptune, and Mercury. I'll talk about them like at all, or Triton. So there's some important data there, and I guess at some point I got to swing back around. Well, I'll have all these series of MIMS papers. There's a bunch of MIMS paper, change theory and POS theory, and all these different ones, and then I'll write part 2 for the threefold sciences, probably about the time Robert Ashcroft comes back around again to have problems with my work. which he hasn't been on. I don't know where he is, but I definitely included a lot of his criticisms of the light model into my work, and put him directly in the footnotes. So I would have expected him to come around and say thank you for acknowledging and mentioning my name, but I don't know. I have no idea what he's up to. It could have been life got this way. And that's I'm going if so long as the weather cooperates, which at this point it looks like it's going to be cold. But if the weather cooperates, I'm going to take the kids camping, and just getting prepared for the the coming event, the various levels of wars. Personally, I feel about 90% prepared. I need to cover, it's all back to communications. So the boys are finishing up all the science experiments. They're down to, they only have like 2 or 3 more science experiments to do. And Orion's going to be working with what's called Mesh Network, which he's been working with the Mark Rober channel. They have an Arduino, and he basically set up this he didn't program, he set up this Arduino, and then Aaron's been learning Java programming. So I figure that the boys will be capable of doing the Mesh Network. They're also going to do popsicle stick engineering. So the daughter will have to do 300-to-1 ratio, weight ratio for a bridge, and then Aaron will have to do 1,000-to-1 weight ratio on his structure, which turns out it's not that hard for popsicles with hot glue to do, as long as you have a good design. Last time Orion exceeded it, it was over 1,100-to-1. We still didn't break it. So the test floor of his skyscraper is still available, and his design was absolutely genius. And it was 5 layers. It was 5 layers thick, and utilized geometry very, very well. But at any rate, we'll see what Aaron comes up with. And that's about it. That's what's going on in my world. I mean, of course, crypto. Oh yeah, I should mention this. So we're making a test. Several of us in the AIM think tank, we're making a test of something called the Drip Network. It's part of the whole swap thing. Pancake swap, MetaMask, all this kind of stuff. And we're making a test, and so far it's good. We're making the APY. If you put in enough, you can get a 20-day ROI. My ROI, even at the small amount I put in, only about 3,000, is it's all proof of stake. My ROI so far is about 40 days. So, it depends on, obviously if the market goes up or it goes down. If the market goes up, it gets hotter. If the market goes down, it slows down. But either way, your APY is way, way beyond anything the fiat empire offers. So I'm pretty excited about it. I'll try to work in a how-to product soon. I've got to update the cybersecurity document too, and I have a piece of software I need to finally get in and create the questionnaire, recreate the questionnaire for. So all that's been kind of slowing down the progress as far as that goes. And now I'm arriving at the bank. I'll let somebody else roll. If you're talking, you're muted, just so you know.
Yeah, you got it. I was muted. You're right. I'll talk a little bit about this Rory Duff. This guy who's a dowser. That was his primary job. And in the south of England, a place called Bath, where there's Roman baths, and sort of warm water comes out of the ground. It's an ancient holy place, really. There's a society of dowsers, and they've covered most of the UK by the look of it. And he's identified these energy points. Now his level of dowsing's pretty good. and he started off dowsing for water in South Africa successfully, and he maintains that you can dowse. Water's quite a natural thing to dowse for, but people can dowse for oil, gold, all sorts of different things, diamonds, and I don't know if you've ever had a go at it. I have. Uh, uh, Now, whether I'm any good at it or not, I'm not sure because I haven't done enough of it. But last year I was dowsing up on the hill there, and I think I found some water, but we dug down and there wasn't any there. Dug down about 4 feet. So anyway, so dowsing, he found if he went on the St. Michael's ley line. And this is a line that stretches from Land's End, Penzance in Cornwall, right at the western extremity of Britain, to a place called St Mary's in Norfolk, which is the eastern side, and that's about four or 500 miles long or something like that. And dotted along this what they call the ley line, there are all these churches and places like Avebury and pretty ancient monuments, and they all pop up along this line, and a lot of them had a church built on them, most of them being called St Michael's. And anyway, he found this ley line, and where these cross over these energies, he's saying they can actually give you problems, but he says in some parts, you can pick up these energies, and this is what the Druids were doing, and they were actually not only just communicating with the universal consciousness, they were able to send their thoughts along these lines to other people right around the world. If they knew which way they were pointing, they can actually focus their thoughts and transmit them to the next stone circle, etc., which happen to be a lot of these circles are on the old ley lines. And anyway, so he has a few different difficult ideas, Rory Duff, but his ideas about his telepathy are pretty good. And they do relate a little bit to Rupert Sheldrake, and I'll go along with that. Now, the other interesting thing about this St Michael's ley line, though, is that there's a north-south ley line that's been discovered as well, and this goes from the Isle of Wight, which is the southernmost tip of England, to Cape Wrath, which is the northernmost tip of Scotland. This time, instead of ancient monasteries being stuck on this particular line, the Bellinus line, interestingly enough, buddy, because just the other day, you were saying belligerence. Where does that word belligerence and Bellinus? He was a king 500 AD, and he was in that 500 BC invasion, the Brutus invasion of Britain, and he established this line, and it went through Winchester, which was quite a holy place. King Alfred, that was established under his reign, really, Winchester Cathedral. And then if you carry further on, it goes slap through the middle of, I think, Manchester. I think a number of let's say not as ancient places, right through. Oh, it goes right over the Forth Bridge, the Firth of Forth, which at very low tide used to be, you could almost ford it there, the Clyde. Sorry, the Forth. in Scotland, and then it goes through a couple of really holy places in Scotland. Pretty important places like Culloden Field, the site of the battlefield, and I think the MacDonalds got slaughtered then. I can't remember which ones. And the interesting thing is, I haven't actually put the line up on Google Earth yet, but I think I live right on it. I think within half a mile of it myself, and I think it goes right through the structure, which is Knoll Hill, which is a massive fort, ancient fort, and I think it might even correspond with that mile long the man ditch on top of the hill, which is cut through the stone, and it's a mile long, and no one knows who did it. And so that's a fantastic thing. So I'm very interested to track that down on Google Earth as soon as I get onto a decent computer with it. Because Google Earth, I think it's really crap what you get on the app, isn't it? If you download the whole lot of it, it's bloody millions of megabytes, isn't it? Do you know how about that, buddy?
How big the program is itself?
Yeah. Have you? Yeah. I'm just. Yeah.
You mean like on your phone? It drags your phone?
I'm going to stick it on my laptop.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to put it on the phone.
No. It's about 200 megabytes or something, isn't it? Something like that. It's pretty chunky.
Yeah, it is pretty chunky for sure. And there's a lot of the first couple versions there might be better as far as certain bases and certain places being blacked out, redacted.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe Google Maps is the one to go with for now. I mean, I really should be getting into these open source maps though. But I mean that this will be fascinating for me if I can establish that line that I'm on the Bellinus line. I'll be able to find lots and lots of old ancient stuff along that line. And it might even be possible that where the hill what I am is right bang on it. So it's just interesting, fantastic, fascinating for me. And anyway, Rory Duff, he goes on about these energies and how we can use them to sort of energize and empower ourselves, and actually synchronize at particular times. A type of prayer, really, but a type of prayer which can sort of jump from one spot to the next along this web that's been set up by the ancient people, and we can still use that and derive information from it, learn how to pick it up from the stones, because I'm pretty sure it's we can hook on to the things that make this telepathy possible, this morphogenic field, and they travel in straight lines, these fields, right around the earth. So like us guys are fairly well attuned in how we think and express our views of the world is kind of it's converging rather than diverging between us guys who speak. I feel that tacit communication.
Thank you. Nice shirt.
You're able, yeah, you're able to do with practice. If you're in the right place and the right, You know, and it's just like picking up a telephone, as far as I understand it.
Yeah, and you know, I cover a little bit of this in one of the MIMS papers. I can't remember. I think it was the meditation one. That, you know, there is an ability to. It might have been the threefold science one. I think that's where it is. The mentalism. To actually bend mind through. Of course, there's a direct connection, such as, you know, Buddy was thinking about me, I was thinking about you guys, and then there's also the ability to encode it into a digital structure and actually push. Thank you. To push on people through the ether and through the force, that is, and actually have them feel that impression. And in the paper, I cover a story, one such story, of course, anecdotal, because it's my own personal story and experience. But it's not like it's new. It's something that the Chinese talked about. It's something that the Hindus talked about. It's something that the magicians talk about, you know, of our culture, and of course the Native Americans. So there is plenty of anecdotal evidence, which is not to be disregarded. People think that because it's an anecdote, it's to be disregarded. You put enough anecdotes together and you have a trend. And you know, if everybody saw a lion run through downtown, those are anecdotes. Because you haven't found the lion doesn't mean that no lion ran through downtown. And then later on, you see on the news that a lion escaped the zoo. So, you know, we look for confirmation later, and we look for the data, but anecdotes are evidence. And so, you know, the story that I relayed in the paper was a personal anecdote of mine. However, it's the importance of it is not to be disregarded, especially in light of there is a hypothesis out there about the morphogenic field. And so, you know, determining how that actually functions, how it actually pushes upon, you know, minds across different spaces. I just want to point out that this woman has crossed the crosswalk at a time when it's going the wrong way. So green is going this way, and she just decided that she's just going to go on through. Wow. Well, she's not homeless. She's carrying a coffee. She is, however, in college, so it's dubious how much intelligence there is.
Oh dear me.
Oh goodness. But anyways, now that brings up an interesting query. If so many women in my life have cancer, and women carry the mRNA, and the obsession of the government right now is mRNA, vaccines and such. Do you think they could be using a directed energy weapon that utilizes the morphogenic fields or scalar magnetics, however we want to talk about it, to ascend a disease program, a cancer disease program, into specifically targeting women? Could that be partially what's happening with the Karen phenomenon? People going crazy. I mean, it seems very obvious to me that something is happening, but it isn't exactly obvious to me the mechanism.
If you listen to a Christian from Ice Age Farmer, this is all part of the us acquiring a second magnetosphere. We're going to be we're moving into it this month. We're going to have it for 2 years until 2024 of October. So this field is going to push on the ionosphere, and push down the ionosphere, like Neil and a lot of people used to talk about in the electric view. And when this happens, everybody's going to go either nuts or more cognizant. There's only going to be a few people, I believe, there a few, maybe 100,000, 10,000, like it talks about in the Bible, that are clothed in white, which means they're probably just going to be conscious. The rest of the people, I think, are going to lose their minds, and it's already happening. It's happening fast.
So you don't think the government's targeting? You don't think the government's targeting mRNA? You think what is it an emergent thing that suddenly mRNA vaccines exist because they've been invented since 1990 or 1989?
No, I think they're using it. I think they're using it for sure. but I think that the larger global aspect of what's happening is natural cycle. And everybody's going to go fucking nuts. And that's why history gets destroyed time and time again, because the entire religion, if it weren't for people sitting there counting beads and saying mantras, we would forget it, because it's all stuck in their head. It's in their body because they've been doing prayers every day. If this event happens and we're not stuck in our religions, then all hope is lost and nobody knows how to find their way back to source. See what I'm saying? I really literally think that there's going to be an event within the next couple of years.
Give me a second. Unfortunately, I'm at a place where I got to mute myself.
All right. Yeah, we're at a place where I think that this is naturally going to happen, and people are already the hospitals are already completely full with the mRNA or without the mRNA. This is going to be a global event, and as well a solar system event. It's a galactic event, honestly, but we're just getting some of the wingtips of it, the fringes, the frills, if you will.
Yeah, he reckons. Well, Duff as well. He reckons that this is fairly well up on the way. We're traveling around the Pleiades, I think, and he reckons this cycle, with us being on the edge of the, like you say, this what do they call it? We're on the edge of the cone, basically. I think he's describing it as, and we're going to be as such. It's the galactic. He says the galactic something or other. And we're going to be there for 2 years, he says. If we can get through this next couple of years, we're on the way up then, basically. So like you said,
that as well.
Yeah. So it's a matter of getting through this 2 years.
It's interesting that you bring it up, because we were just talking about the mind and the morphogenic field. Back in 2009 or 10, I actually predicted the same thing, that several lines would be crossing up and down. Of course, my thought was that they had to do with peak oil and, inflation, and which is there, that is there. My line started crossing in 2019. They peaked in 2022, and they stopped crossing in 2024, with the last line being left at 2025. And so I've been telling people for years about these events, well before I was even doing EPMC. So it's very interesting that you bring this up. So people who are connected to this field, this Akashic type field, apparently are able to read this ether and then turn it into maybe it is a dether, and so they're getting information about specific times. I have no idea. When I did it, I was almost like guided by, like my hand was being guided. Now back then I was a heavy Buddhist and heavy into Buddhist and Taoist alchemy. So I was meditating all the time. And, maybe that had a huge impact on my ability to sense. But I'll tell you this, it was a very strong sense. And this was after the mortgage meltdown. I'd love to find, if I could ever find, of course, this was before I was taking seriously the need to catalog this kind of thing. I unfortunately don't have any particular information about that, but it's somewhere. It's in an email. It's like an attachment in an old email, one of my defunct email accounts that I don't use really, because I tried to warn everybody. So, interesting stuff. I mean, I think it's interesting, at least. And I agree with your assessment there. I do think that the government knew on some level that they could take advantage of the COVID-19 because of the reconnection of Jupiter and Saturn. I think they knew. Now, who told them it would work? I have no idea. I mean, we could say the Illuminati or whatever. Somebody knew that reconnection was going to happen. And then we saw it on satellite. NASA was like, wow, look, this is really interesting. Yeah, it's interesting. All right.
Mm.
So,
Yeah, it is.
so I think, I mean, I talk about this in depth all the time. This is one of my favorite subjects to talk about. Literally, the ionosphere, the global electric circuit tapping into the galactic electric circuit through the plane, and the effects that's going to happen to not only people but animals all over the earth. I'd love to see maybe the speciation record during these grand solar minimums on these reversals. But so far from what I've done, from what I remember in my research, is that there's a catastrophe event that's associated with the flipping of the poles each time. It's not a huge massive catastrophe die off, but yeah, a lot of creatures do die off during these magnetic polar reversals, which is what we're in the middle of right now.
I think these things actually stimulate diversity in life as well, you know, because they don't
100%.
tend to exterminate all the creatures, but they seem to be fairly selective for the ones that sort of evolution wants to get shut of, one way or another. It's quite an odd process of moving forward, and you wonder if a giraffe gets a longer neck because he wants to get the roots at the top of the tree. What are the features that human beings are going to adopt?
I'm thinking it's mostly going to be in the human energy field, the half. I mean, we're gonna continue to get worse and worse diseases. I think really weird, gross stuff is going to come out of this. Like when a comet passes the Earth and you get all those entrails and all those germs and everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I think at some level, that some of these foreign viruses and bacteria, they start to interact with the human physiology, be it good or bad. Some don't seem to have any effect; they just seem to sit there. And there's sort of 30 trillion viruses in your body, and of course, mitochondrial DNA isn't. That came from a separate organism to the one that we were without it, if you know what I'm trying to say. The X chromosome on its own, and so this uptake of these viruses and transforms the human physiology as well over a long time. You know, your digestive, for example, your tolerances to milk. A lot of people weren't milk tolerant, so they had less survivability chances than the ones who were milk tolerant. So it's
true, that's damn true, because you can get bigger, stronger, and have a stronger family by eating and drinking cows.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Now the the wise people knew this. They didn't have to go around rustling a load of beef. All they had was a milk cow. You know.
It's gotta feel kind of wrong though. Like, I mean, like, I still kind of think of it as wrong drinking the cow's milk, but whatever.
No, I don't. No, not at all.
Just wrong in the fact, like, that the milk is made for a gigantic 300-pound cow, you know, a baby calf, not for humans, and it's got all the ingredients inside there made for a cow and what cows do and need. I mean, not to say that it doesn't have the ingredients that we need too, but I mean, the other option is strapping women up to milking chambers, and you know, if we want human milk, okay, might be a little weirder. It's weird to me that human milk. So hang on, it's weird to me that
are you secretly a Morton Joe? Are you secretly a Morton Joe?
Oh, I love breast milk.
Witness me.
I'll tell you from the top of the. That's like one of my favorite things in the universe. So yes, I think the taboo against humans drinking breast milk is really strange.
I think it tastes horrible, so there's no way I'm going to have it.
Well, you got to get it at certain. There's.
But I'm lactose intolerant now, so it wouldn't matter.
At the beginning, it's salty, but as she continues to mature through, a couple of years or whatever, it's sugary. It's sugary at most of the time.
I'm good, thank you though. I loved cow milk, but I don't drink it now. Well, okay, no, that's not true. I get lactose free, but I prefer the lactose free or the almond milk. I like both. I don't like soy. I'll put up with all oatmeal milk. Oat milk, but the thing is, it does help the body grow. I mean, vegans don't grow as well. Period. They just are. Their bodies are weak. We are omnivores. Now, there's a lot of room for us to adjust, though, in how we handle things. We can engineer vertical structured farms, with layers of ranches on one layer, and then their manure is going down to the next layer where growing is happening. We can do that. We just aren't. We should.
Well, I don't like that.
There would be great.
A cow doesn't want to live in a bloody vertical farm. You just make the cow happy in a nice meadow, and then you'll get nice milk.
That if you have a structure that is the size, the physical width of a Costco, and then it's 20 feet each floor, and inside there's a farm landscape, plenty of growing lights, and it's grass and everything. They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know the difference. They'd be wandering around, eating whatever machine is bringing in there, walking on the grass, and their manure would be constantly forming. You just drain it towards they make a kind of a continuous sludge that goes down and then fertilizes all the way down. So you can do this over and over again. We have the technology. We have the technology. We just don't do it.
Yeah, because you could have a fish farm involved with that whole agricultural. Yeah. There's places that I've seen recently. I've been getting a lot more into the culinary arts, along with this ice cream, of course, and freeze-dried food. And the more I get into studying the culinary arts, I keep finding all this really, really cool information out. And our body, how we're shaped is a lot of time how we eat. I guess I want to say that the current, the shape of the fish is the shape of the fish, and the fish doesn't move by moving its muscles. The fish moves by using the current, and we are all in the current, and that's what it is by using the force. So for us as humans, using the force is using the current, but it also takes our hands. It takes our hands it takes our hands and our bodies to move in certain ways to charge the ether, to charge the plasma around us and the ether force. And in India, they were in on this a long time ago. And, back to our one of our last conversations, when you were talking about people using Qigong and different martial arts and different things like that. I do that all the time. And I find that as I walk and listen to music and I paddle my hands through the air, moving them in different mudras, dancing, not only is it a spell, but whatever you're thinking about, it draws it directly to you. It'll show up that day or within that week as you're paddling through the ether. It's a spell. Why do you think that there's a wand involved in spells and moving your hand in certain ways? I don't know, I guess different types of magical cultures and the whole idea of that. And look at the maestro, or look at the person who leads the music. they have a wand and they lead the orchestra, they lead the band, you know. These times could be right around the next corner. I fully believe that you know, some of the stuff that Neil Thompson used to talk about. I'm getting an echo. With the trees becoming charged, and some of the stuff that me and Heather used to talk about with I'm Irish, and I'm really proud to hear this information that in the runes there's a certain type of runes and a certain sect of Irish culture that mapped out the trees and how the trees actually matched up with different auroras. So like I don't know if you've ever seen the aura of the trees. I see the aura of the trees all the time. Not constantly, but very often I see the auras of the trees.
Yeah, I do. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Now imagine that when the ionosphere comes closer, that aura of the tree is going to be seen, and it's going to be magnified into the heavens, connected to each individual Birkeland current. Every tree has its individual Birkeland current that it works with its charge, and it controls the atmosphere. It controls the atmosphere to make it conducive for certain bugs and insects and everything for the whole life cycle of the tree and its progeny. You know, it's trying to take care of its babies. But I just thought that was really cool, and I saw I you know, just a tangent there, but yeah.
Yeah, trees, the kind of frozen energy, aren't they? They're frozen. They're unfolding frozen energy in a life form. They're an amazing thing. Yeah, they're beautiful. Of course.
I don't know if it was just a joke or if God's got humor or what, man. But like, of course he's got a sense of humor. But in church, I used to just jokingly pray for the trees, like, you know, like as everybody's praying about all the serious stuff, I would pray for the trees almost every time in Sunday school, and people would laugh their ass off. I'm just trying to be a jokester, you know, and later in life, it's only trees. Like that's my favorite thing on the planet. Like if I had to stare at one thing for the rest of my life, it would be the breeze moving through the trees. That's what it would be for the rest of my life. I'd be content. I'd be like, praise God, amen. The Holy Spirit's here. Let's do this.
That's it. That's the one.
I do love trees.
Yeah, the energy's that's something else, and of course all the different types of life that attracts. Yeah, it's just it's abundant when you look at it. It's so abundant. It's just what we want. It's absolutely what we want. Give them all a bit more freedom.
So my grandpa, he used to go up to, and probably still does, go up to all the plants in his house, and they used to be the best gardeners with everything. And everything was always thriving, and we're like, how the heck is that possible? And he'd go up to the tree or the plant and he'd breathe on it, and he'd go. He's like, it's because I breathe on them. It's how they live. I'm like, no shit.
Yeah. Well, they like a bit of CO2, don't they? The plant likes a bit of CO2.
Yeah, think about it. I mean, there's probably trace amounts in the whole room, right? But when you breathe on them, that's like a full breath of straight oxygen for them.
Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. It's getting a real lungful of fresh air plant-wise, isn't it? That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can. I mean, of course, when we're in hospital, they don't let you have flowers now because, of course, they reverse osmosis at night, don't they? So they'll produce CO2 at night and take in oxygen rather than during the day when the chlorophyll's working. They produce CO2, don't they? Sorry, they take the CO2 and produce the oxygen. Yeah. So it's a really good symbiotic arrangement. Having plenty of plants around you, it really is, in my view.
Yeah, I have lots of plants surrounding me in Grandma's Space Kitchen, and that's where I work all day. Now I work from home, so I should go get some more plants. They're so expensive now. The shot up in price in the past 2-3 years. I collected a bunch, and then the price, like, I swear, at least almost half.
If you see some nice bushes, just go and ask the owner if you can get a cutting or something like that, or take some cuttings off a nice bush. You know, in a couple of years they'll be up and you know they'll be up fully running bushes. Yeah, just get the cuttings.
I got to take a couple of bushes out this year, unfortunately, from my house because I'm going to build my garden larger.
Yeah, yeah.
I think one's more important than the others.
Yeah.
My food, bitch. I'm taking out the bush.
Yeah, I've got a little commission to do, a bit of stonework to do. A little, I think, water feature maybe and stonework. So I'm looking forward to that when the sun comes up. So I like to work in stone. I like to, you know, build in stone. I enjoy it.
That's awesome. I've done a lot of stone work when I was doing landscaping and hardscaping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It really tears your fingers up if you're not wearing gloves and you're not used to it, man. Like laying pavers on the ground.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh! Every one of my fingertips had holes in them, and I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm like, dude, I can't do this. Like, I got to get gloves.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, you've got to let the skin build up, but once it's built up, it's like a piece of leather. You don't need gloves.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is with stone walling, you do squash a lot of your fingertips. You know, it happens quite a lot, and you end up with flat fingertips. That can happen easily. So gloves can help a little bit sometimes. But once you've got your line and your batter frame, you know, if you've got a batter frame and a line, you can start making some really pretty structures, arches, buttresses, flying buttresses, all sorts of things.
I'd love to see some pictures of your work.
Yeah, well, I'll get some. I've done most of the stuff locally around here that I've done's just sort of repairs of old walls. But you know, a lot of them are like that around here. But I worked on some historic monuments as well. Shibden Hall. It's like a 500-year-old house, and I did a load of stonework in that. So I mean, the thing is, it's the volume. People want volume off you now, you know, rather than quality, really.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. But I mean, I think there'd be a great market in the US for sort of gate posts, you know, the stone gate posts that people like, and fireplaces as well. You know, that sort of thing. I've always enjoyed doing that sort of stuff, really.
Oh yeah, there is a strong demand here, and a lot of them. Almost every house that I paint has a different looking fireplace with different styles. So
yeah. Yeah. It was my plan about last time I came to the States was 2004, I think, maybe. Hang on, 70. Yeah, 2005, something like that. And I went down to Missouri and see a friend down there, and a place called Cam Denton, and we went all around the place looking at the stone available in the stone merchants, and I couldn't believe how expensive it was for one thing. But the other thing is, there's so great opportunity to quarry your own in a lot of places.
Oh yeah, that's for
And
sure.
So anyway, I saw this stone merchant, and I said, "Oh, I'm from England, like, and I'm interested. That's what I do in England. I use this stone." He said, "Well, if you came over here, right, I'd give you a job every week." He said, uh, and he says that's the demand for it at the moment. You know, so
Yeah.
then my next task was to come back to England, save enough money to get myself a truck, a little bit of land, and what is it, a shed on it, and then start doing stone in Missouri. And of course, as soon as I start to save a little bit of money, I smash my heel to bits, and that's the end of that one. uh, that was my end of my plans to get to Missouri.
Yeah. Well, so you really wanted to live in the United States?
Well, sort of maybe 10 years ago, certainly, yeah. Um, I mean, it's certainly, I mean, I like the atmosphere, I like the people generally, and especially out in the countryside. I'm not a city person anymore. I lived in London for 10 years. I've had enough of cities. Uh,
Is it
um,
is it raining where you're at? What's the weather like?
Today it's about 10 degrees centigrade, which is probably 50 odd, around 48, something like that. There's a light wind picking up from the south, so that'll keep warm. There's a cold front coming in. Sorry, a wet front coming in from the west, but I think it's heading sort of north. So it might get us a little bit tomorrow, a bit of rain tomorrow. But no, it's a really nice spring morning,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
or spring afternoon, and yeah, so it's the birds are all out having fun. There were about 200 jackdaws uh, flying around the church, around the spire in the churchyard behind me, and then two massive crows came over and joined the fun. Uh, so that's pretty good. And then at night you can hear the owls, one's hooting and one's screeching, and so all the wildlife's picking up, and I think the fox cubs will be out now. Fox will, she'll drop her cubs around now.
Do you guys
Uh,
see a lot of foxes around there?
yeah, yeah. I mean, the farmers shoot them if they can get them, but yeah, you see some beautiful foxes.
It's
Uh,
really rare to see foxes around here.
yeah,
Super rare.
yeah.
And we have.
Well, they even go into London in a lot of places now. They're urban now. They're fully sort of urbanized. They've got a better chance in the cities than they have out on the farms. Uh,
Wow.
Farmers will shoot them at split seconds notice. Um, I mean, I know a couple of lads they have scopes on the guns, and they sit up on the hills all night and wait for foxes to come past and then pop them. That's their idea of fun. So
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people need them off of their land, and some people like to trap for fur, and I don't agree with that
no,
necessarily,
no,
uh, because I've seen some foxes caught in traps around here locally, and then I found out it was my friend that was trapping them.
yeah, it's disgusting. If
Yeah,
I catch anyone with a trap up there, I'm gonna kick them right down the fucking helmet. Simple as that.
but it would be good to learn, or you don't have to really learn how to trap. Well, there's a lot of learning, I'm sure. Yeah, um, but it'd be good to know, like, especially with things the way they are, it would be a good skill to have.
What
But
I
I
would
could never
recommend
do it.
what I would
Well,
recommend, we'll get into the Tom Brown books. Tom Brown.
Is that a type of trap?
No, Tom Brown is a famous tracker whose best friend's grandfather was an Apache scout. And so he learned all of the old ways. And his friend has died, but he has continued on teaching it in New Jersey. And anyways, he has a whole science that teaches you how to track that, like the different kinds of crumbles and crests and things that happen that as the animal moves, that you can learn how to read its weight, its mood.
Yeah.
It just depends on how deep you get into the study.
Yeah, you've got to start thinking like the animal that you're hunting. You know, you've got to tune into its morphogenic field. And a thing like trapping, I think it's viable if you, as long as you know you're not going to leave that on, you know, all night in a state of absolutely fear, you know, gnawing its leg off to get itself free, you know. You know, as long as you can check that trap quick and kill it fast, you know, you can't let an animal suffer. It's wrong, in my view, you know.
So the trap itself should kill the animal, but that is deadly for a human. Traps are dangerous in general. Well, I mean, those kind of traps, they're smaller, so they're tinier for like a tiny paw.
Yeah.
So it's not as dangerous for a human to stumble upon it. But bear traps are.
Yeah, they take your leg off.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what a thing to do to an animal, just 'cause it's walking along all of a sudden. Bloody hell. People don't, you know, I mean, some people don't even think that animals feel pain. You know, unbelievable. They actually, and that's their excuse for doing these pestilential experiments on fucking beagles and just unspeakable things that they do to dogs, and in the name of scientific inquiry.
Yeah, I just saw a movie with Christina Ricci in it last night, and it was based off of a true story. It was like a mental insane asylum. It was a Lifetime movie, but the story of the girl was such a big story, and that they picked a famous actor to act in a Lifetime movie. So Christina Ricci was in the part. And man, it was a good movie. Let me see what it was called.
I'll be right back. I gotta go help a patient. Just saying.
I'm pulling it up right now. It was called Escaping the Madhouse. The Nellie Bly story. And her single-handedly changed all of the mental institutions of the day, because they were all abusing the patients.
Yeah.
They were the institutions were to try to make people better, but it was making everybody worse. And they were just throwing random people in, because if there was a person that couldn't speak English, they would just throw like a person who couldn't speak English into the mental insane asylum because they thought that they were insane.
Yeah.
Like, fellas,
what?
I'm gonna hit the stop recording. Fellas, I'm gonna hit the stop recording because I have to go give an hour massage. You guys keep talking all you want, though. Okay. Good show.
Okay. Okay. Nice one, Ron.